Chief! Ooh, hey, gorgeous. Come over here. I want to talk to you about something. Something really important.
Woljif?
Quit bothering the decent people in here, Woljif, or I'll knock your teeth out.
What's it to you, Delvin Dum-Dum? You were told to guard me, and I'm not stopping you. But no one told me I had to shut my trap.
Who are you?
Woljif. Woljif Jeffdo. I deal in useful things. I can get you whatever you want. Anything. But there's just one problem.
Your shadow. What was that?
Get me out of here and I'll tell you. And don't worry, it's not contagious.
What was it about his shadow? What do you want from me?
I'll lay it out for you. Simple job, 30 minutes tops. We go someplace, talk to someone, and in return, whatever you want, I'll get it for you. Some extra rations? No problem. Armor, weapons, scrolls, you name it. It's as good as yours. If you need my help with something, whistle and I'll be there. I'm handy enough with knives too, and even my magic know-how isn't too shabby.
What a load of guff. If you were good at magic, you wouldn't be stuck in here now, would you?
Don't you listen to him, Chief. He'd find fault with the Queen herself. I'll be useful to have in battle, and I'll sell whatever you want at a reasonable price. It's your lucky day. You won't meet another gem like me in Canabras.
Hey, Leon. Is that Loki? I can't help you while you're chained up here. How can I free you?
That's easy. You know Irabeth? Feisty looking gal, always wears armor. You can't miss her. She's the meanest fighter in the whole city. When you see her, put in a good word for me, will ya? Tell her there's this guy, Woljif, locked up for no good reason in the Defender's Heart. Well, for the follies of his youth. And he really wants to get out on bail so he can keep up his good behavior and make a contribution to society. You got that? Will you do it?
The only way we can tell if this is Loki or not is we have to check his paperwork. If he swings both ways, then yeah, it's Loki. That stupid fucking the stupid thing they did with that. What is that called? Gay baiting? What was it? There's a term for it. He doesn't even act remotely interested in men, I think, in the shows. I've never watched the Loki shows. But in the movies, it didn't give me any kind of gay vibe, you know, so. I mean, he's not very attractive, so. I mean, to me. So. As a matter of fact, actually, looking back at the cast of the Avengers, is there anybody like really attractive? No, not really. You know, Captain America is not very attractive to me. Thor definitely not very attractive to me. Loki, there's nobody cute in that movie at all. Yeah, I'm not a Chris Evans fan. I'm not into pretty boys. So yeah, he's not very attractive to me. I'm into manly men. Okay, not girly boys. There's this guy in I saw him I didn't really watch the show, but in passing I saw there's this guy. There's the Falcon. No, I'm not sure what the name of the characters are. Like there's the black guy who got his shield in the new series, and then there's another guy. There's this white boy who's very manly. Now he was cute. I don't know which character that is. Falcon is the black guy, right? So there's this, yeah, there's this white guy. He was like Falcon threw the shield at him. There was this scene where they were like outside a cabin and then they were talking. So that guy's cute. And he's not, I guess, a staple in those movies. So yeah, they don't have anybody really cute. Winter Soldier? Maybe. Let me see. Is that him? Let me check real quick. No, not Winter Soldier. He's ugly. There was another guy. No, hold on. No, hold on. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, yes, that's him. Not with the long hair though. Is that the same? Is that even like the same actor? Because they were showing like the long hair character, like, yeah, not, he doesn't look good with the long hair. With the short hair, he actually looks pretty hot. Okay, so yeah, that's him. Yeah, that guy's pretty hot. He looks a lot better with the short hair. Yeah, with the long hair, oh god. First thing, you saw my reaction. I saw that picture and I was like, oh no. He reminds me of Caden. I can see that. Yeah, he's very hot. Chris Evans, no. Mm-mm. Okay, alright. I'll ask Arabeth about your situation.
I knew I could count on you. Knew it the moment I laid eyes on you.
Why are you in chains?
Does it really matter? Don't get hung up on the past, Chief. Don't look to the future. Live in the here and now.
He was caught thieving.
This way.
Oh, hold on. There's something here that you can interact with. What is this? We don't know what these switches are for.
Wherever my legs carry me.
And I can't see if this is up or down. Maybe they all need to go down. Is it up or down? I can't tell. It's so dark. Oh no, I don't have a torch. Oh, I do. Okay, so it's down.
Forwards! No backwards, backwards!
So they're all down, but I don't know what that does. Okay.
Trail me.
There's lawn. Okay, let's talk to the dwarf who fucked that demon. Everyone's fucking everybody in this game. The dwarf resembles an abandoned citadel, one whose high, crumbling walls are still holding fast, but whose empty, lightless windows make it clear that all inside is dead. Oh, it's you. Good work back there, in the Grey Garrison. named Staunton Vane, if you've heard rumors about me. His face, which looks like it has never known anything as carefree as his smile grimaces. Just so you know, everything people say about me, it's true. What do people say about you? They say I'm a traitor, I'm as bad as Arilu Vorlesh. Hardly any name arouses so much rage among crusaders as the name Arilu Vorlesh, a Sarkorian witch who initiated the opening of the World Wound and then made it expand. Almost nothing is known about her life before the atrocity, except that Arilu was condemned for using arcane magic, which was persecuted in Sarkoris and imprisoned in the Tower Threshold near the city of Iz. This is where Arilu conducted the ritual that paved the way for the demonic invasion and left her land to be tormented by Demon Lord Discari. In some mysterious way, the witch transformed herself, turning from a regular human into a half-demon. Over the following century, Crusaders only encountered Arilu or the results of her experiments a few times, but learned nothing more of the Discari's henchwoman. She holds a high position in the ranks of the Army of the Abyss, and holds the title of Whirlwound Architect. That I am a disgrace, even among ranks of the condemned. Military unit made of petty criminals conscripted as the disposable soldiers and frontline fodder in the Mendevian Crusades. That Queen Galfrey should never have spared me. Did I belong in the gallows? Oh my god, this one's pretty long. Queen Galfrey is the absolute monarch of the Crusader state of Mendev and leader of the Mendevian Crusades. While today the name of the Crusader Queen is known throughout the Inner Sea region, it's easy to forget that Galfrey did not start her rule of Mendev as a paladin of Iomede, but rather of Aroden. When the Whirlwound opened and forever changed Mendev, Galfrey was an untested young ruler who was forced to deal with the death of her god while simultaneously rallying her nation against the abyssal threat to the west. She rose to the challenge, however, and her leadership was instrumental over the next several years, not only in protecting Mendev from demonic invasions, but also in holding the border against the Whirlwound. When the Church of Iomede organized the First Crusade, it joined forces with Mendev to push back the demon armies. During these battles, Galfrey time and time again distinguished herself with a keen grasp of tactics and skill at leadership. But this inspiration went both ways. In the Church of Iomede, Galfrey found something to replace her lost faith. By the time the First Crusade ended with the apparent defeat of the demon armies, Galfrey had converted and become a worshipper of Iomede, and had completely refrained herself as one of the inheritors' most devout paladins. Eager to retain such a valuable leader at the head of the Crusades, the Church of Iomede twice purchased and presented to the Queen the rare and expensive Sun Orchid elixir, which extends mortal life beyond its usual span. Thanks to this boon, the Queen has lived and led the Crusaders for more than a century. I want some of that. So I heard that Jeff Bezos is trying to find a way to reverse aging. He doesn't want to part with his money. After seeing Earth from outside of the atmosphere, from space, he realized that life is short. So hopefully that's going to be included with Prime. If you want to live forever, you just have to subscribe to Amazon Prime. Alright, let's see. They'll send you a little vial every month. Why do they hate you so much? You really don't know? Staunton gives you a long, morose look, then sighs. I'm the reason why the Crusade forces are holed up in the fortresses on the edge of the whirlwind instead of bringing the fight to the demons. We used to have a foothold in the wound, the mighty, unassailable city of Dresden. We used to have it until it fell. And all because of my stupidity. I gave the enemy our main citadel. You know, people usually say, though, about immortality. Founded as a city fortress during the hubris of the First Mandavian Crusade, Dresden was overtaken by demonic hordes of the whirlwind. It now stands as a demonic monument to the foolish naivety of those early crusaders. People always say, oh yeah, I don't want to live forever. But I think people are just justifying, you know, because at this point everybody dies. So if you don't accept that fact, then you're going to have an issue. But if it's possible for you to live forever, people would say yes to that. People are lying if they say they don't want to. We used to have it until it fell, and all because of my stupidity. I gave the enemy our main citadel. I was tried. They wanted to execute me, and rightly so, but the queen intervened. She said that I should live and fight in order to undo what I had done. So that's how I live, decade after decade, fighting in the condemned, the dwarf shrugs. As you can see, I have fixed nothing, and I have earned no one's forgiveness. Are you going to spit in my face too? It wouldn't surprise me. You can spit in Staunton's face? Well, I'm not evil though. So we're gonna go with chaotic. You were given the chance to live, so live, and stop blaming others for what you've made of your life. Do you think you're the first to come to me with sermons? Oh my god, we should have just spit on his face. Remind me whenever we have the option to be evil, just be evil, because these people don't deserve any kind of kindness. The dwarf shrugs indifferently. You perform a chaotic action. So many years in the condemned. Surely you have paid your penance by now. That's not up to me to decide. My life is in the queen's hands. He falls silent for a moment, and then in a trembling voice he adds, the condemned isn't the worst part. All these years I have prayed to Torag for forgiveness. Father of creation. Serious dwarven god of the forge, protection and strategy, who values honor, planning, and well-made steel. He is an often distant deity, lending magical power to his clerics, but leaving his followers to make their own way through life, knowing that this will make them strong and determined. Countless times I've gone to his priests. Countless times I've kneeled before his altar. If only the father of dwarven kind would answer my prayers just once, not to restore what I've lost, but just to tell me that I'm still one of his children. But it seems he doesn't give a damn about me. What can I expect from mere mortals when my own god doesn't think I deserve redemption? A whole city fell because of you? How is that possible? What do you mean, how? The knight glares at you from beneath his furrowed brows. If you don't trust the word of a condemned, go ask someone else, like my little brother Joran. And if you still don't believe it, what's it to me? But if you're about to ask me to recount the story of my disgrace for the 1000th time, don't. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you. Oh, I can't. Okay, forget about Torag. You're just rubbing salt in the wound. The gods don't care about us. They don't deserve our prayers, let alone our suffering. I can't. An atheist can't understand how it feels when your god renounces you. Oh, we got that option because we're an atheist. I forgot I picked that. Just as one who's never loved can never understand how it feels when your beloved betrays you. I need to talk to an elf. I need to talk to the elf who calls himself the Storyteller. Do you know where I can find him? The Storyteller? Staunton strokes his beard in thought. A strange old fellow, that one. He used to sit with me for hours, asking about all sorts of things. He never offered judgment or comfort. He just listened. At first, I wanted him and his questions as far away from me as possible, but later I realized that talking to him did ease my burden a little. I hope he is alive and well. He's completely blind and feeble too. So if he's alone in the city, well, you probably know what that means. I do know one place he might be. Look for him in the Black Wing. It's a library. Here, I'll show you where it is on the map. I don't know what use a library is to a blind elf, but he loved the place. He would sit there day and night. You really don't have friends? I couldn't have survived this long if I was completely alone. Joran, my little brother, he keeps me going. He's never abandoned me. Everyone else shies away from me like they might catch what I've got. The fighters in the Condemned console themselves by thinking, I got stripped of my rank, but at least I'm not Staunton. Commander Tirabade seems to be the only person in the whole army who remembers that I'm a soldier and not a drudge. She has no qualms about talking to me and taking me into battle. She's had some mud flung at her in the past, or so I hear. That's why she tries to keep an open mind about people. It's no surprise that she's the only one to hold on to her senses, onto her sense of reason in this farce. I've seen how the other soldier treats you. What about it? The dwarf's tone make it clear that he has no interest in your answer. Okay, I'm just gonna say, okay, chaotic is good. It was the most entertaining thing I've seen in a long time. At least one of us enjoyed it. Staunton shrugs indifferently. Go on then, maybe we'll see each other again.
What's awake from your home?
Kiato, Visali Rathamus. A stout old man with a fuzzy gray beard mumbles a prayer. He looks as tired as everyone else in the tavern, but determination is stamped upon his haggard face. What can I do for you? Who are you? Visali Rathamus, rector of the local temple of Abadar. The temple is gone though, and if we snooze here for much longer, the city will be lost as well. Who is that boy with you? This one? Kiado, the shepherd, my apprentice. He's a smart boy and his faith is strong. He serves Erastil, though, but there's still something he can learn from old servant of Abadar. He'll be a great cleric when he gets a little older. Okay, old Deadeye. What kind of help can I expect from you? First, I sell scrolls. I have a lot of them, something for every emergency. Second, while you're here in the tavern, I can read one of you. Guaranteed, no surprise. But you'd better not go into the city without a cleric. I won't be going there myself. I'm too old, and my powers are needed here. Okay, so I guess we can sell these scrolls. I don't like that the scrolls actually have weight on them. Okay. I already talked to her earlier. Let's talk to Lan. Lan greets you with a nod. Here for a chat. I've been waiting for you to come and see what strange beasts you've taken into your party. I'd like to know more about you. I want to know, like, what's going on down here with him. Because he's like half human, half satyr, half lizard. So like split right in the middle. You see that some of the scales actually spread towards the right side of his body. So does that split right in the middle, like between his two balls? And how does that impact his... Venus wants to know how that impacts his penis. That's what I'm very curious about. I'd like to know more about you. Let me guess. Your first question is, can you wear a hat with your one horn? Am I right? So you can wear a hat with your one horn? Sure I can. But certain designs don't suit me too well. Lan speaks in a deadly serious voice. You speak common much better than the rest of your tribe. Funnily enough, common isn't all that common underground, Lan says. But your observation is correct. I used to live on the surface with my parents for a while, and had a chance to learn a couple of things. The language, and the fact that every peasant who sees my scaly mug screams, "Demon," and runs away. I don't know if you're interested, but my mom wasn't from an underground tribe. She was a smuggler, the kind that used the dungeons of Canabras to secretly move and store goods. One time, two gangs couldn't agree on how to share a prime cut, got into a fight, and the winners threw the losers down a hole, dead and living alike. My dad went to check if the corpses had anything useful on them and found a girl from the surface, barely clinging to life. An incredible feeling sparked between them. Or maybe the girl just liked men with scales and the cat nose. It's kind of hard to have sex with, like, as a human. You know, just like the whole situation with Shepard and the scaly guy. You know, when your partner is like has like scaly like have scales or like sharp rocky. What do they have? They have also like some kind of scale, some kind of, what's the name of that race in Mass Effect? What is the name of that guy? But he was so romantic. He was definitely more romantic than Caden, actually. It's just funny. Forgot his name. Too many characters. I've encountered too many characters in my gaming life. Can't remember them all anymore. Or maybe the girl just liked men with scales and a cat nose. That might be it. One way or another, he got her back on her feet. And he later even left his home caves. She left her smuggling behind. And they began an honest life together. That's a delightful story of how old Lan came into this world. The next chapter, however, my family and I never stayed in one place for long. We lived somewhere on the surface, sometimes underground. We couldn't find a place to call home. Living in the caves was hard on my mom, and my dad's appearance raised too many questions in Mendev. They're at war against the demons, after all. In the end, my parents decided to stop making each other miserable and separated. My father and I returned to our tribe. I think the peasants screaming demon had something to do with it. Or maybe Dad just couldn't stand life without rat tail soup. I wouldn't rule out the possibility. Did you come with me so you could see the surface again? No, that wasn't it. I just don't have much patience for certain type of creatures. Demons, I mean. If they want to destroy Canabras, I'll be on the side of the people they're attacking. Lan looks away. So, I don't like it when my subordinates hide things from me, or you're my companion, and my companions should trust each other. Well, since I'm trying to get in bed with them, I guess I should just pick good. He's the best option I have so far. I haven't seen any other attractive. It's not even that attractive. This is the only guy around that we can mess around with, maybe. Lan looks ashamed. I guess you're right. I shouldn't have been so evasive. It's just that some things are hard to talk about. My family, for example. My birth, hell take me, turned out to be a great misfortune for my parents, all because I'm relatively healthy. I'm the best thing that can come from a marriage between a cave-dwelling mongrel and anyone from the surface. A healthy child with the right number of hands and feet, no apparent defects, no missing organs or other problems. So he's trying to say that his dick is working. Okay, so that's good. They saw hope in me, so risk having more children. They thought it would somehow be all right. A growl edges into Lan's voice. I could have had 4 brothers. The first was born 2 years after me and died 3 years later. He didn't have a nose, nothing even remotely resembling one. He could only breathe through his mouth. Mom and Dad were afraid to take their eyes off him for fear he'd choke and suffocate on something. But in the end, it was his weak heart that killed him. Then there was another pregnancy. Wow, they were fucking a lot. And birth. I pretended I was sleeping, but snuck out of my bedroom and listened under the door. All those hours, it was very strange, but I never heard the newborn screaming. Mom moaning, yes. The priest praying. Then I dared to open the door a little and looked inside. The priest stood there, very pale. One of them was holding something, a small object that fit in his palm. He asked, "Do you know what this is?" And the other said, "I think it's a head." Lan stops. Please go on. Lan pauses, exhales, and continues in a steadier voice. BBL, okay. It turned out that this time Mom was expecting triplets. The first of the babies was born in pieces, and the 2 didn't live long enough to draw their first breath. About 3 weeks later, my father took me to the caves. He didn't want to leave. I could see it in his face, but I think my mom and he decided it together. The curse of my people have carried since the first crusade stood between them. Not to mention the 4 dead babies. An old age was rapidly taking its toll on my father. After we returned to the cave, he only lived another 4 years. I mean, they didn't have to, keep trying to make babies, knowing what could happen. They could just live together and just love each other. People are so obsessed with making babies. So if you're asking me why I decided to go up with you to the surface and join the Crusaders, still storming? You were gonna step out? Well, the answer is, I've always wanted to. I was afraid to leave my tribe, but it always haunted me that I'd die in a world where 4 crusades could do nothing to stop the beast from the abyss, and the number of victims kept growing. I want to change that, or at least try to. And if changing things is too much to ask, then at least get a little revenge. The ones who are behind the whirlwind owe me a great debt. The lives of 4 brothers, and my mother's tears, my father's broken heart. It's a lot. It's so much that killing a couple of demons won't do it for me. I want to do something real, and I'm ready to pay any price. Call it my personal crusade if you like. Lan gives you a slanted grin. I used to think that things would be better if I'd never been born, but now I think I was born for this, to settle the score. Your parents' love didn't survive hardship, but that doesn't mean the same thing will happen to you. What if you find true love? Hint, hint, ready to suck your dick. Someone who won't leave you no matter what. And break my beloved's heart when I die in her arms 5 years later? That's a fine thing to do to the person you love. Then again, there's a chance I'll inspire some tragic bard to write a tearful ballad. Well, I am a bard. So maybe we should try this out. Why didn't you go up and join the Crusaders before? I couldn't just abandon my tribe. I'm their best hunter. They'll have it much harder without me. But now that the demons have nearly destroyed Canabras, and the caves almost collapsed on our heads, sitting and waiting it out just wasn't an option anymore. Anyway, I'm more useful up here than I am down there. Plus the chief let me go, which means my debt to the tribe has been paid. Would you like to find your mother? No. The word flies from Lance's mouth faster than an arrow. Then after a pause, he continues. I don't want to meet her. Not because I feel any resentment. It's just that she's a half-elf. Well, that's why he has the elven ear. She's barely got her first. I thought because he was there's also some satyr in his blood. She has barely got her first gray hair, and I'll be a ramshackle old man. She's buried enough children. There's no need to make her witness the death of another. I hope you understand. I'm very sorry, truly. Lan smiles, this time sadly. Well, then I'm very lucky. I met someone who not only helped me choose the right path, but is happy to listen to my whining. Thanks for sharing, Lan. Thanks for listening. Tell me your story again. Mongrels have short lifespans, but you don't look like you're getting old or dying. How old are you? Lan chuckles. I'm as old as I look, no surprises there. But remember Saul? He's 10 years older than me. I remember him back when he was a fearless warrior. And day by day I watch him turn into an old man. Him and my father. It happens very quickly. First you miss a shot because you don't see the target as clearly as you used to. You think it's because your eyes are tired. You tell yourself it will get better tomorrow. Then you notice you're having trouble breathing. That climbing is harder than before. Lan clenches and unclenches his human fist. Your fingers stop bending. You have to tie your sword to your hand. You can't even put on your greaves without help. When you're washing your face in a stream, sometimes you catch sight of a gray-haired, wrinkled old man you don't recognize. And this goes on. Yoshi! Scared the shit out of me until one day you come across a cave beast and you realize you can't outrun it. Sweetheart, it's not time yet, baby. You gotta wait a little bit, okay? Okay, can you wait a little bit? It's not time yet, my love. You ain't that hungry. Oh! You ain't that hungry, baby. You okay? Let me see. Come here. Something wrong with your ear? Let me see. Come here. Shriek scared me, girl. Come here. Come here. Let me check your ear. Let me see. Hold on. Come here. Don't move, baby. Let me check. Did you get bitten by a bug or something? Come here. Can I check, baby? Let me see. See anything? Just sensitive? you gotta wait, baby. Okay, you gotta wait, sweetheart. You gotta wait a little bit, okay? Good girl. 20 minutes, baby, okay? Lan takes a breath. My dad kept diaries, marking all the signs, and I saw it too. The last year, I had to help him get out of bed, help him dress, remind him to eat. Sometimes he forgot my name. I told him that we should have stayed on the surface, and he joked that dodging a goddess was behavior unworthy of a crusader. He meant Pharasma. Every morning, I wake up and check how I feel, but there are no signs yet. Even so, I know I don't have much time. I need to do something useful before I forget why I came here. So he would be like the perfect person that you can mess around with. No strings attached. He's just gonna die. I want to talk about Wenduag. Are you sure? Land size. Alright. Were you just friends or were you more than that? Well, she already said that they fucked. Wow, you really don't pull your punches, do you? Lan exhales loudly. There was a time when I asked myself the same question. Wenduag knew me better than anyone. She understood me better than anyone. She was the first girl I ever... You know. But we never loved each other. Maybe I could have grown to love her, but it always seemed like she never understood what love was. Maybe she just wasn't capable of those kinds of feelings. Tell me about your connection to Wenduag. My connection to Wenduag? I mean, where do I start? Lan turns the unexpressive reptile half of his face to you. We grew up together, trained together. She was the chief's daughter. She was groomed to be the best all her life, and then I came along. We were rivals, where we dragged each other out of tight spots too. I've always been drawn to grand, heroic gestures, sometimes idiotic ones, whereas Wendu liked to roam unexplored passages, finding new caves and making maps. She wanted to be a great huntress, the one who'd make it through the shield maze, but instead she... Lan shakes his head. It would be better if she died. The death of a friend is painful, but watching a friend become a shadow of their former self is unbearable. She doesn't think she's a shadow of her former self. Of course, she thinks she did everything right, because the second she starts to doubt herself, she'll have to face the truth. To admit that she's just a cannibal that demons use as they wish. Lan's frown looks almost like a wince. She wants to get stronger and stronger, but for what? I'll never understand what drives her. Thanks, I found everything I wanted to know. If you ever want to reopen any more old wounds, you know where to find me. I found out everything I wanted to know, thank you. Sure thing. About him, okay. Yeah, we asked him everything. You said that you were prepared to risk your life to do something meaningful. What exactly did you mean? To invent a new salad and have it named after me, Lan remarks grimly. Then he sighs. Truth be told, I don't know. It would be much easier if all I really wanted was to kill demons. Then a few more demons. Then more demons after that. Good honest rage and no needles brooding. No needless brooding. I think I actually envy the warriors who can live like that. But I can't. If life's taught me anything, it's that there are no easy choices. Dying a glorious death isn't enough. Some heroes of the Crusades did that and also saved entire settlements, erected the ward stones. Their actions kept the lands of Mendev safe for decades. That's what I want, for my dumb, short life to have meant something. In 1430, in 44, okay, I already read that because I remember 4433. Okay. You think I have an exaggerated opinion of myself? Some scaly freak crawls out of the caves and wants to take control of the wardstones and flaunt Yamade's banner. Any fool can charge at the front lines of the demonic armies and die there. But what good will that do? I want something meaningful, you know? Even if I have to pay the highest price, especially if I have to pay it. There are plenty of worthier people who need to survive this war and tell everyone else what nutcases we were. What do you think of life on the surface? It must be very difficult from life underground. Of course, as far as living conditions, the surface is definitely a better place to be. It's easier to get good food and water, not to mention build a house and even grow a few things. In older, well-established settlements, you don't have to deal with anything scarier than rats or maybe foxes stealing chickens. As for the kind of lives you have, I heard a story about demon worshippers abducting a whole family and sacrificing them one by one while the others watch. But there were some brave Crusader knights nearby, and they killed the villains and saved everyone. And I heard another story. A young blacksmith lost his arm in a fire, couldn't work to feed his wife and baby. They tried their best and lived from hand to mouth, but they were still destitute. In the end, the desperate blacksmith robbed a traveler one night on the road, but there were some brave Crusader knights nearby, and they caught the robber and threw him in prison. Not long after, his wife smothered their baby and hanged herself. Okay. Up here, the same person can proudly say he's protecting the innocent from demons, and then look the other way while the same innocent starves just because they were born into a poor family. Queen Galfrey prolongs her life with sun orchid elixirs that cost enough to feed an entire city. Back in our caves, everyone is equally poor, and if one person starves, the whole tribe starves. We don't abandon our own in times of trouble. That's the power of a tribe. The laws of the surface are made so that some get everything and others get nothing. I might just be a naive fool from the caves, but I don't understand how it's possible to have so much more and share so much less. Anyway, look who I'm talking to. You must know life on the surface much better than I do. Oh yes, I also have a few questions for our feckless aristocracy. But I guess they'll have to wait until we drive the demons back into the abyss and close the world wound. Lan smiles a strange half-smile, which breaks along the border between the two sides of his face. At the end of the day, the world is full of injustice, but it's also full of mad beasts, ready to tear us to pieces. Tell me about your people. Of course, what would you like to know? Oh my god, there's a lot of shit here. Are you really the descendants of the first Crusaders? More like demon spawn, aren't we? Sad but true. Without the demons, there would be no mongrels. It's the magic of the world wound that affected our ancestors and made their children the way we are. Like most in our tribe, Chief Saul fancies himself a descendant of the underground Crusaders, the ones our heroic ancestors left to guard the caves. I don't know if it's true or not that Angel came to our caves for a reason. Maybe he remembered us. Those were evil and dangerous times after the First Crusade. Hundreds of Crusaders began having children, and the babies were born with fangs and horns and warts that covered half their face. People didn't like the new look. The Inquisitors sure didn't. So our ancestors fled persecution and made home for themselves down there under the ground. They probably intended to find a cure for their children and hoped to return in time, but it never happened. Instead, the world wound's terrible legacy was passed down from generation to generation. Mongrel parents can only guess what their child will look like. Each of us is born with new mutation. Many mutations are fatal. Man stops, then goes on quietly. Down in the caves, you usually don't congratulate the family for the birth of a child until they turn at least 3. Most don't even get a name before that. There's no point. It hasn't been that long since the First Crusade. Why do you know so little about your ancestors? Our lives are much shorter than Uplanders. Up here, only a few generations passed, and many still live who remember old Sarkoris as it stood untouched by demons. Did I already read this? The lost Khalid realm of Sarkoris was savage land. I think I did. Queen Galfrey, for example. But where we live, mongrels start getting old faster, earlier than humans, much faster, and with more devastating consequences. Few live past 40, and fewer still live long enough to die of old age. Hunger, disease, and monsters from the deep are more effective killers than time. For us, the story of the First Crusade is a legend that happened generations ago. There are no living witnesses. We have a tale of the wise and great ancestors who left us to stand guard in the catacombs. But in reality, I suspect they were desperate wretches who couldn't figure out how to dispel the demonic plague and who were abandoned by their own kind. Do you have a way to tell day and night? You can't see the sun in your caves. Every mongrel settlement has a big gong, which we treat like a relic. The gong keeper hits it twice a day to mark the beginning and end, but this custom doesn't keep time very precisely. Every Mongol child has snuck up to the gong to strike it at the wrong time at least once, just out of pure mischief. Nothing could keep me away from it, not even the fact that I only have one ear, which means it would take double the punishment once I was caught. So sometimes the wrong strikes get mixed in with the right ones, and the tribe can find itself jumping up to greet the morning in the middle of the night. That's interesting. Do mongrel tribes fight each other? There were some skirmishes, and I've been forced to kill my kinfolk before, too. Land speaks in a steady voice. Fights most often break out over food. We have laws in the caves, written and unwritten rules that we follow. We respect one another's right to live, but hunger, it can push a person over the edge. I've never, you can count on that, stolen someone else's kill. But I can understand those of my kin who tried. To hear your kids begging for food and not be able to feed them is terrifying. He frowns and goes silent. You're the only member of the Neathom tribe to call your people mongrels. Why is that? Because all of Galorian calls us that? I don't see the point of all of this hemming and hawing over what we're called. Anyone who finds it offensive or takes issues with it can lead the charge against me. No one's stopping them. But personally, I'm not going to pick a fight over something so as unimportant as a name. What is it like living in your caves? Oh, Lan gives you a broad smile. His smile is strange, as if it falters where his human feature meets his animal ones. I imagine that in the entire world there's only a few hundreds like you. There's not an inch of fertile ground anywhere. Nowhere to grow grain for bread or cotton and linen for cloth. Your neighbors are beasts who want to eat you, or parasites who want to infect you with their larvae and then eat you. And it's not that bad, because you can try to eat most of the things that are trying to eat you. Sometimes at the risk of getting poisoned, sometimes with almost no risk at all. In the worst years, there's not a single living thing anywhere to be found, predator or prey. That's when you eat mushroom soup. I'd say it 3 times a day, but there was barely enough for once every 3 days. Lan shrugs. But life on the ground has its upsides. Pun intended. There's no risk of losing the roof over your head. There's no bad weather, not counting the earthquakes, of course. It's nice to know my ramblings seem useful to somebody. Wow, that was a lot of reading. That was like an hour's worth of reading. But we talked to three different characters actually. Pink Eye. Just listen to this woman. Isn't it amazing how much nonsense can fit into such a small package? Who was he talking about, though? Who's Indara? An imposing young Oread is surrounded by a crowd of crusaders who are hanging on to her every word. I hope this example clearly illustrates the difference between Jiska legionnaires from the last war and the crusaders. Oh. The Jiska Imperium was the first human kingdom to establish itself in the Inner Sea region after the centuries of darkness and devastation caused by Earthfall. Its citizens spoke a nearly forgotten language called Jiska, whose alphabet became the basis of the alphabets of the modern language of Skald, Varusian, and Taldane. At its height, it dominated all of northwestern Garund, and also part of southwestern Avestan. Raids of desert nomads and attacks by powerful outsiders from minus 3300 onward, and the lack of strong eastern trade route led to the slow decline of Jiska. Assyrian, then a burgeoning kingdom under the control of the powerful pharaoh of forgotten plagues, pushed westward. It overthrew the already weakened Jiska, and the Imperium was plunged into numerous succession wars around 2764, from which it was never again be able to recover its former political, military, and economic power. Because of this military and economic defeat, the cultural, magical, and technological advances of the Jiska Imperium were largely lost and forgotten. The perfection of form and spirit that they were imbued during creation turned them into parts of a well-balanced war machine, not a ragtag bunch of individuals, but a united whole. Now tell me again, why am I supposed to be impressed by your reckless assaults, where anyone is fighting for their ego and for the right to beat their peers to a swift but pointless heroic sacrifice? Some of the crusaders grumble unhappily, but it is clear that they are captivated by the woman's words. The only exaggerated exception is a scraggly, disheveled halfling monk whose puffy black eye gives him away as a brawler and a troublemaker. He enthusiastically pushes forward and tries to engage, but one of his friends swiftly jabs him in the back with an elbow, making the poor fellow pause to catch his breath. Quietly listen to the discussion. One of the crusaders angrily curls his fists tightly and retorts with a burst of passion. If those gists of yours, or whatever, had come for us, we'd have their guts for garters. You think we've never fought a mighty adversary before? The soldier's stern facade cannot fully conceal his relish. He clearly plans to enjoy his confrontation. The crusaders around him look upon their exotic opponent with a mixture of irritation and piqued interest. The woman chuckles before cutting off her interlocutor. I would love to see you storm a 60-foot tall walking castle shaped like a gigantic elephant that carries siege fortifications on its back. And I'll have you know these fortifications were defended by Jiskan priest craftsmen armed with demon-bound war machines. They use the enemies you cannot defeat as mindless weapons. The woman gives the people around her a triumphant look and adjusts her hair with pointed nonchalance. Her voice takes on a lecturer's tone. You should not argue with someone who happens to be the most authoritative researcher on the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. The woman looks at you and flashes an amused smile. The lecture is over. Do my esteemed listeners have questions now? Attack insulting the Crusaders will cost you dearly. You can kill her? Who are you? I am Indara, a warrior, magus, and a scholar of classical warfare from Garund. I think I've read that before. The woman peers at you apprehensively, then sighs. I admit that I am mildly offended by the fact that my name is entirely unfamiliar to you, but I'm willing to accept that this is due to Avistan's isolation from sophisticated culture of the world at large. She wants to be slapped or something. One of the most densely populated areas on the planet. Ancient history stretching back down to Brevoy. River Kingdom, Numeria, and still another system. Okay. You've come a long way to be here. I like to think of myself as an inhabitant of Galorian, and I don't narrowly identify with any country in particular. Why'd you come here? To witness a legendary war, the confrontation between denizens of a plane famous for its love of violence and the crusaders from every continent, united by the common goal of defending their home, an epic struggle of colossal proportion that hasn't been particularly epic so far, truth be told. The monk with the black eye grins and mutters under his breath. Maybe she just can't see it from here. The view will get way more epic if she stops hiding among us and takes a walk outside. The woman smirks contemptuously. She does not deem the monk's words worthy of comment. It looks like you know more about warfare than any of us. Oh? Am I hearing things, or did someone finally acknowledge my competence in the art of warfare? Perhaps there's a sufficiently open-minded person among the Crusaders after all. I find myself pleasantly surprised. Why don't you join the Crusaders and show them how fighting should be done? No, I'm a historian, an analyst, a theorist. Do you know what these three words have in common? They describe a mortal woman who does not participate in the conflict upon which her thesis will be founded. But then again, I will hardly be able to describe this mess as anything other than feeble likeness of the last war of Jiska. The monk with the damaged eye grins slyly and comments. The more dangerous the upcoming scuffle is, the more motivated we are to find clever and pretty words to justify not actually doing the fighting. What is this last war that you mentioned? Okay, I gotta go. The last war. This is really good. Really interesting conversation here. The last war of Jiska, of course, a large-scale conflict that took place 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. It was a war against the Assyrian pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues, the war that ended the legendary Jiska Imperium. First civilization to rise in the wake of Earthfall. It's one of the greatest empires in the history of Galorian. Its ancient land, however, is pyramids, mummies, terrible curses, endless sand, as well as culture steeped in proud traditions, devout respect for the gods, dedication to communal service, and unswerving devotion to its rulers. Osirion today is emerging from millennia of Kelishite rule and regaining the legacy of pharaohs supplanted by these foreign oppressors. No, she's waiting for me on the bed. An epic struggle that became the most vibrant page in military history. Alas, all conflicts that followed it were but a pale shadow, including the one I'm witnessing now. I want to kill this bitch. I think that would actually, is that too much? Does she deserve to die? She's probably not gonna get killed. When we attack her, we probably just like scar her or something. I doubt it. It will cost me exactly the price of a single-use amulet of teleportation? Oh! Oh, wow.
Brave for adventure.
I feel foolish. That was pretty good. Oh my god.
Shall we move?
She made a fool out of me. Alright, so this... that was really entertaining. I loved that. Oh my god. I didn't expect that at all. Alright, well, I'm gonna go take care of Yoshi. I'll be back a little later. Thanks for being here, Leon. Bye-bye.